Hello. And then there were tall, strange boulders that stood by themselves, spires or pinnacles, doting the landscape like bowling pins set up like a giant toddler. They were higher than buildings but narrow, their bodies striped with layers of red and white and tan like half-sucked peppermint canes, 100 years old and yellow with age. A dead wind blew it so dry it burned Wendy's nostrils. Sand got in her eyes, and it wasn't even normal sand. The pretty round and faceted jewels of a good English beach. It was more like dust. Tiny slippery flakes that soon found their way into every crease and crevice of her clothes and person. As for the rest of the land, from the squinty eyes, Wendy saw farther than she ever had. Her brain hurt trying to make some sort of sense of the images it had received. At home, even though the city where there was always blocking the views and trees and hills, every couple of miles something like a hedge cut off one's view of the rest of the world. Here she could see what appeared to be 50 miles in every direction, maybe 100, with no real end but for the ability of her eyes. She felt dizzy, utterly exposed under such a huge bright light, dead sky, and endless flat desert, with its weird chest-like rock figures, its unmeasurable walls of rock and distant plateaus. There was nothing else. She herself was nothing. She didn't even have her shadow. Wendy collapsed to her knees, overcome by it all. "Careful," Tinkerbell exhorted, buzzing off her shoulder for a moment before remembering not to fly. "You're going to get all sticky and mucky." "Mucky?" Wendy asked huskily. "Are you joking? Tinkerbell, are you feeling all right? Is the heat getting to you?" "Heat? It's cold and nasty and wet with all the mud bubbling up here." "Mud?" Wendy looked around. "All I see is desert, miles and miles of empty desert." "What do you see?" The fairy shifted uncomfortably on her shoulder. "I just told you. Mud. A whole world of it. A giant flat, dead world. Mud bubbling up. Nothing. I wonder which one of us is right," Wendy muttered. "Do you think it's some sort of trap? Some way of disguising themselves? Of keeping us from finding them in Peter? An illusion like fairy glamour?" "They are the most powerful beings in Neverland." "They are Neverland," Tinkerbell jingled darkly. "No need for illusion." "How does this place usually appear? Have you seen it before?" "Those who return never say. And no." "Well," Wendy bit her lip, "even words spoken aloud here are sometimes thin and dead and useless. If it's real at all, at least what I can see from where I stand, there is no sign of Peter anywhere, or anything living. You?" "Nothing. Mud." Hold on then. We'll walk a bit and see if we can see anything or anyone. Let's just take a good look at where we started so we can remember." She forced herself back on her feet and looked behind them. To her relief, the air, or reality, seemed to ripple. Shreds of white and gray blew aside, and the desert petered out. Glimpses of the dark green jungle peeped from beyond. "Well, good," she said, returning to the way they were. "We can always return. We shall mark our place with those 3 rocks here, and, oh, not 20 feet from them, or there was nothing but scrub before, stood a giant monolith. A red and orange jagged-edged hoodoo reached from the sky. Its top was bored into 3 strange and slightly bulbous shapes. With just a little imagination, Wendy could make out the heads and maybe faces, blank primordial ones. "Tinkerbell," she whispered, "what do you see?" Mud welling up, bubbling up into 3 ugly, muddle statues, sweating and bleeding and oozing mud. Wendy was only a little relieved that she and her friend were both seeing different versions of what happened to be the same thing. The stone effigy in front of her was terrifying in every way, in its size, silence, and sudden appearance. "Why are you here?" Nothing spoke. Nothing that looked like a head or a face moved. No sound emerged, and yet the words reverberated across the dead landscape. echoing and unmistakable. There could be no doubt where it came from. If you please, Wendy dropped in a small curtsy. We're here in search of our friend Peter Pan. Have you seen him? Silence. Terrible, dreadful silence. It too echoed, blanketing the desert with the deadly finality. Wendy waited and waited. The dry wind blew past her ear. She felt Tinker Bell grew tense, tiny fingernails digging into her skin. Not urging to do anything, just nervous. I'm sorry, she began after a while. Peter Pan, have you seen him? He's about my size and wears green. Peter Pan was here. Now he is gone. Do you know when he left or where he went to? Did you give him a new shadow? One question too many. Despite the lack of change in the landscape, Wendy could feel its impatience. The problems of the boy are not our concern. We sent him away. Why are you here? You are not from Neverland. You are older. I beg your forgiveness if I am too old to be allowed here, Wendy said, immediately lowering her head. I shall leave as soon as I help my friend find her friend and help him get his shadow back and defeat the pirates with whatever they are planning. There was a strange noise, as if the air was shaking. Age is no rule of ours. It is a law created by you humans from the other side. We make no laws. We make no rules. We just are. It is humans who seek to name and regulate and shape this land to their ridiculous whims. Our world is crystallizing to the point of permanence thanks to your ridiculous dreaming. I don't understand. Once we and the world were one. We were the world. Then humans came. Their dreams were simple at first. But since came rules and laws and the ideas and the suppositions and the world and the feelings and the wishes and the delusions and hopes. With each one mountain hard, and now you another sea into a river. Now you have your Neverland, and because children's dreams are the strongest, their dreams rule the world. Everyone except here, where we still rule. We, the first of this world. Oh, but isn't it rather lovely, Wendy asked. Fairies and mermaids, despite their vicious tendencies, and dragons and flying in moonlit beaches. You have an amazing, beautiful world here. Neverland exists the way it does as a result of all the innocent childhood dreaming. All of those magical and creative thoughts before they grow up and it slips away. Insolent! Wendy, darling, you know you and your brothers are not the only ones who dream. Wendy was forced to her knees by the strength of the words. She covered her ears just by not actually hearing anything. When she managed to look up again, the rock formation had changed. There was something about it that looked different, and it appeared to be looming over her more. Some children are so twisted by hate from the others, they can dream of nothing but hate. Some children dream of going through a day without being whipped or beaten. Some children dream of nothing more than a full meal. They smile in their sleep, and their minds conjure something that would fill their bellies as if it were real. Some dream that their parents are still alive, or at least their ghosts come to visit. Some dream of still being able to play with their friends and go to school, although they no longer can. This Neverland, you see, is the Neverland you and your brothers are used to. There are other parts of Neverland you never see, with no fairies or mermaid. Only dishes of food and clean water and kindness, or beasts so horrible you would die upon viewing them. Silence filled the space in Wendy's ears and mind when the first finished speaking. Her heart paused. Other children's dreams? The criminal, she murmured. Well, that wasn't her fault, was it? These other children that were part of her Neverland, her world, were they? They were part of Neverland, where she and John and Michael played in the nursery with Nana and cufflinks and perfume and Mr. and Mrs. Darling and tea and rain. But of course they were. Wendy knew that. She just didn't want to think about it. There were they were out there somewhere at the edges or hidden in plain sight. Orphans, beggars, children with bruises, girls whose parents really did force them into arranged marriages, without even the choice of going to Ireland instead. Some of them even dreamed of a life where all they had to worry about was growing lonely and grow old in a large house, where there was food and heat every day. Why else would they dream up a Peter Pan to rescue them? I just have never thought about it before. The first didn't say anything. I'm sorry, I didn't. I still don't know how Neverland works. Or my world either, I suppose. How much do you care about your world? Or this one? The Mad Pirate will destroy all of Neverland rather than simply quit it once he has Peter Pan in his clutches to watch it all asleep. Yes, that's why I'm here, but I don't see what my world has to do with it. Hook is the villain and star of so many of your tales. He was birthed from the tides of your world, and he will destroy ours. I didn't mean to. They were just stories, but you can stop him, can't you? We cannot stop this because your world's hold over ours. He is of your making. What do you want me to do? Wendy cried desperately. I'll do it, whatever you ask. Nothing. Silence. Normally, she was not a girl prone to perspiring. She never moved faster than a brisk walk and remained inside on the hottest days. Now she felt sweat break out across her brow and uncomfortably under her arms. But it wasn't from the heat. Should I leave now? She asked. Maybe she and the fairy should go. Maybe the first were done with them. But it felt wrong to turn her back on these creatures, whatever they were, and walk away. Rather like turning one's back on a king or queen. Were they done with her? Please, sorry, I was so stupid. Neverland is a learning experience, she ventured, nervously, and sweat into coalescing words and just poured out of her mouth. I came for adventure, perhaps wrongly. It's far more complicated than the place I dreamed of. Pirates who don't seem to want to be pirates. Girls who have to hide their true selves to come here. Monsters who only eat fairies. Mermaids who will fight each other over tooth and claw over an apple. And Hook, am I responsible for his doomsday visions? Neverland is a reflection of your world. Wendy jumped. She had no longer been expecting a response, much less one so calm. Are things broken here? Save this world. Then go back to your own broken world and fix it. Perhaps we shall be mended as well. Me? Fix the entire world? I can't even fix my own situation at home. That's why I came. Is escape to Neverland your only recourse for being made to grow up, for being sent away, for disagreeing with your parents? Is there nothing else you could do for yourself, for others like you, for others unlike you? This is not how Wendy expected the conversation to go. After her outburst, she expected irritation from the strange beings and maybe a boulder or two hurled at her for perceived insolence. Being squashed would have made more sense than just these strange questions. I'm no one. I can't do anything. I can't even disobey my father. Perhaps you should go see if that's really true. Go quickly. Time is running out for Neverland and for Peter. There was a pause and a ripple in the atmosphere that Wendy realized meant a change in the mood. Goodbye, human, not grown up, not child, not hero, not villain. Goodbye, pixie, not human. Wendy blinked and the monolith was gone. The others behind it in the landscape also rearranged. There seemed to be fewer. She let out a breath, not even realizing she had been holding it. Tinkerbell decided it was safe to flitter and zoomed around like a nervous bee, keeping very close to her big friend. That was very interesting. Educational. She finally found the right word. Terrifying. Tinkerbell nodded, swallowing. We really have to get out of here and find Peter and get Hook. Immediately, what if even the gods of the world are worried about its destruction? Well, it's serious indeed. And I think you know it's better to find Peter first and then deal with his shadow and the pirates. Perhaps we really should go after the pirates now? I think we'll find more easily at this point. What do you think, Tink? But the little fairy wasn't paying attention. She tugged at Wendy's hair and pointed back the way they had come. Wendy looked very reluctantly, afraid of what would be here, or rather what wouldn't, and she was right. Neverland was nearly gone. The desert extended for 100 miles in all directions, seamless and complete. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.